Present are all councillors who were before the adjournment for morning tea. If I have somebody please move that we receive agenda item 341, the Corporate and Financial Services Information Report. Councillor Arthur, seconded by Councillor Gleeson. Those in favour? 7-0. Over to you, Dean.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Only been a couple of weeks since the last meeting, but we have been head down getting our planning sorted to start delivering on the budget projects across our corporate and financial services team. IT certainly got a big program this year, and we've got a couple of so the launching of an upgrade to our document management system. We had a launch meeting with the I suppose the power users of council. So that started that project should be completed. That's only about 2 months, that project. There's a load of training to be tied with that with the staff as well. So September we'll be looking to do a fair bit of training on the use of our document management system, but also on general records management practices as well. Also the Microsoft 365 environment that has commenced. The launch meeting for that was last week as well. 2 weeks ago now, and that is starting to get put together. Also the enterprise system is the other project which we have meetings to kick off that project next week as well. So they'll be putting together the expression of interest and starting the engagement with the key users of the system. Will be a key part of the project this year. That'll take most of the financial, will take the financial year to get that project up and completed the initial phase. In the workspace, we spent a couple of days early in July with the senior work supervisors to put together the works plan and finalise some of our programs for the work program this year. So that has progressed as well. And we also want to welcome Heather Byrne, who started with us as the interim finance manager. Her focus for the 3 months that she'll be with us is particularly around the audit and the financial statements preparation. So that has been progressing. And yeah, that is sort of where we're at.
Questions for Dean? Melinda, do you have any questions for Dean?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Apologies to Councillor Rogers. Further questions? There may be some questions for the next report Dean has. Can I have somebody move 351 financial performance report be received? Councillor Hanson, seconded Councillor Plum. Those in favour? 7-0. Right. Dean.
So financial performance report for 30 June. So these are for this month, given it is the end of the financial year. This report, it is the interim financials, so there's still a number of transactions that we're sort of undertaking at the moment to finalise our actuals for the end of the year. So while most of the numbers are indicative, there may and will be some changes to a number of them as we complete our checks and balances in the preparation of our financial statements, which we'll present, I think around probably the October meeting. We will get them in front of council following the audit is the plan. Probably a key point of note of that in the financial performance statement there is the capital revenue. It's currently showing as significantly under the 8 million that was budgeted. I don't think we're going to get anywhere near the 8 million there, but there is a large amount of revenue we've got to recognise from our contract accounts. So that will come across. If we look at our revenue for the year, fees and charges did perform very well, above expectations this year, or last year now. Interest received is also a lot better than budgeted and expected this year to continue that trend as well, to be I suppose, a key source of revenue for council, as opposed to needing to increase rates further. The recoverable works there as well, while it is slightly over budget, there is still a little bit of money that needs to be recognised there and claimed. So the road construction contracts, there's a bit of money to come in there from a couple of variations. I think we only got the approval of those variations for the Cap Highway job, and there was 2 variations to that job that have been approved, and only in the last couple of days relating to overruns. Also the emergent works flood damage claims are currently being submitted, or just been submitted. As you can see, the grants and subsidies there with the federal assistance grant, full prepayment, is showing around, what's that, 4.5 million, more than what our budget was. So as well as the extra 25% on what was budgeted, there's also the bit larger increase than what was budgeted as well to the overall payment. So that is voting well, not just for our cash flow, but also for our budget that we've got forecasted for this year.
Just on that point there, will we, due to the significant difference in both grant revenue and opening balances, will we look at a budget amendment at the end of the first quarter to reflect the actual cash position changed from 1 July?
I think so, yeah. There's a few amendments we make as a part of that budget anyway to recognise our appropriate amount of carry forwards for capital works as well. So there's a number of amendments that we'll make in that first quarter. If we look at the expenditure, with the final pays now being sorted out for the end of year, that has righted, I think it was showing as an over expenditure in employee expenses. That is, while we're still over, it's a lot less than what it was last month, that variation. The materials and services is over budget from what was expected. The refuge service contract takes care of some of that, so does the NDIS, and also our emergent flood works budget, which I think was 1 million, whereas we've spent about 2.8 for the year. And also plant repairs, which you see in the maintenance, was also over budget, a couple $100,000 as well. So if we have a look at the financial position, you can see our cash position there at the end of June at 26.2 million. So that is far and away over where we expect it to be, largely due to that extra payment for an early payment for the federal assistance grant. Notes. Also, I just wanted to note there has been a correction for the receivables. There was a incorrect entry against the receivables last month. That's been corrected in the reports this month in our contract assets. If you can see, our trade and payables there is quite high. That also includes a whole lot of prepaid flood damage funding that we've received. So until we actually spend the money and undertake those obligations, we don't recognise them as don't recognise it as revenue. The capital works summary. So the flood damage was finished in December, and I suppose this goes to some of the Mayor's questions just then about making adjustments to reflect where we in the first quarter of the budget, because we haven't made those adjustments this year or last year. There is some significant variances, particularly in the capital works where funding wasn't received, and so the project didn't proceed, or in the flood damage case, all the funds weren't required to complete the project. So it does show quite significant variances that really may not exist in reality, or that we know weren't ever going to be achieved. We look at the cash, so the unrestricted cash expense ratio, given the improved cash position, is looking a lot better this month, and the surplus cash is also up to 6 months as well. So the outlook, there's still some money we're expecting to flow in over the next couple of months. The emergent works, and also some of the flood damage submissions and that are currently being assessed as well. Thank you.
The other thing we've commented on several times, but the improvement from an interest perspective was substantial in the annual cash flow. To budget for 190, 200,000 and to receive 430 is a massive boost. That will be, I don't know, but it should be now for two reasons. One, we've got a full year of interest rates at where they are now or higher, and more money at the commencement of that year to see what will potentially be, we'll be out of order to suggest it could be 600,000 or 700,000 in interest received.
I don't think our budget's quite that high, but it is
No.
500 or 600k. So.
But whilst when you were doing the modelling for the budget, you didn't anticipate such a high cash starting position as what has transpired.
Yeah.
And that cash position, obviously, realistically only has one way to go, of course, and that's down, because it's 100% up front. But the unrestricted portion of it goes down, but with substantial flood damage packages still to be received, the 30% in advance over the next few months, the actual gross cash position potentially could even increase slightly over the first quarter,
A little bit.
which helps interest. It doesn't help. The fact that it's constrained obviously makes it a tricky thing, but it's still earning us interest for the period of time that we haven't spent. Questions?
No, Mr. Mayor, just a comment, just with that cash flow and higher interest, probably important for us to, or I should say cash at hand, important to make sure that we keep an eye on our cash flow and don't let some of our, shall we say, bills for contract work start to blow out to 2-3 months before we recoup those costs and get them.
And by that you mean our acquittals back?
Yes.
Yeah. Councillor Rogers, do you have any questions for the finance report?
No, Mr. Mayor.
None further? Okay. Three, 5, 2. Can I have somebody move the community care services report be received? Councillor Plum, seconder. Councillor Gleeson, those in favour? Carried. Dean?
So the community care report for this month, I'll just run through the summary for each of the community care programs. So for the CHSP programs, is showing a positive result there. There is a number of parts of the grants that are yet to be expended. So some of that will be carried forward. So when I was talking about in the finance performance report, we had to do adjustments. We will have to do an adjustment there to reflect some of the revenue that we received in the grants. We'll have to recognise that hasn't been spent yet, so that result won't be quite as positive longer term as what it's showing there now. The similar situation in the home care packages, whereas it's the other way, is showing some additional cost there at the moment, beyond what was expected. So there is some home care packages that are not yet been claimed, so there's still some more work to do there, but it is certainly getting a lot closer to where we expected it to be. Home Assist Secure, similar scenario. There's a fair bit of grant funding there that will need to be adjusted for as well. And then the NDIS, as we've been mentioning for a number of months now, has performed well above expectation this year and continues to improve. So there is a really good result there for us for the year.
Questions? No questions? Can I have somebody move agenda item 371, that Karen report to be received? Councillor Plum, seconded. Councillor Arthur, those in favour? 7-0. Karen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So a lot of activity happening through Alpha and Jericho. Just to update a couple of things here. Alpha Gates, the site visit by the installation team happened yesterday morning, so I'll have further feedback on that, but the gate's been fabricated, so hopefully, sooner rather than later, we will see those gates installed, which would be lovely. The Jericho ATM, there's some challenges there. So the feedback from my contact there is that with the rising interest rates, Next are looking at the cost to them. So the costs may change. So we may have to review the contract there. Next still have not signed the contract, even though we have. So I'm still pushing forward with that to try and get a resolution there and have the installation go ahead. But I dare say I'll have to bring that one back to council with the revised cost on that one. The footpaths for Alpha State School, that been in touch with the Transport TMR and their infrastructure program, so they're going to offer assistance in that space. So it may end up that they will cover the majority of the cost. So I will again provide further feedback once we're further down the path on that one there.
I spoke with Gavin Hill when you forwarded the email through, and he did some high-level referral, which will help there.
Yes, Diane's been, so it's been passed to the next person, and Diane's been in contact with me and more than willing to help me through that process to get the funding. They said it probably won't happen quickly, so it would be maybe by Easter next year. But it will be worth waiting if they are going to fund majority of that. So we will keep working with that one. And yes, just a lot continuing to happen in the tourism space. I had meetings with Alpha Tourism and with the Cairn Committee recently.
And on the gates, could you just communicate between Shane and I and Lavina if there's a request to do some openings in Settlers Park of things that have been grant funded through RADF and others, and the proposal was to do it at the Garden Expo. It'd be nice to do it all in one. If the gates are going to be installed before the Gardening Expo, then we could do it as one whole package, because the gates is probably the big ticket item.
Yes.
So if you could just coordinate that between our office and
The Gardening Expo will be over at the showgrounds, but we can certainly.
still put something in.
Yeah, definitely.
Questions for Karen?
So, we've had a timeline.
No, Karen's just said that you've got a meeting coming up shortly with on-site for the gate installation.
Oh, that happened yesterday morning, so I'm just waiting feedback. So just whether we need what sort of and a levelling platform type thing for the gates. So he'll go back and then give us a report. So I'll bring that to the next meeting.
Further questions for Karen? Councillor Gleeson?
Mr Mayor, it's not in any part of this, what's in the agenda, but just a question. The persons that are long-term residents, you nearly call them, at the Jericho Showgrounds, what fees do they pay and how do they pay them?
They pay them through, they go up to the post office most of the time. And I believe it's paid for 2 days, get 3 days free. It's, I'm going to say $8 a night, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to go and look at fees and charges. But there is some good money coming in from Red Bank and the showgrounds. Yeah.
Thank you. The reason I ask that question is because there's some residents there that've got wood heaps and fire heaps and took up area in stables and argued with the people in the barrel race because they thought they owned the stables. And
the barrel for
they've been there for so long that they nearly think they own the place, and I was just asking the question.
I did hear that, and I sent John Fisher out to have a chat with some people. And just on that, the Barrel for Corso, the Dachshund race, one of the tourists actually won the Dachshund race, so they were excited. Them and their dog happy with their little red coat. So most of the tourists are pretty good. I think there was just only a couple that were causing some trouble.
Councillor Peoples probably thought today was a red letter day because we adopted a planning scheme he didn't like, but I don't think it's a red letter day because we've stooped to the levels of discussing Dachshund races informal general meeting.
That's a big thing in Jericho. There will
Move on before I
probably-
say something that will end up in front of the OIA.
There'll probably be
Councillor.
more dogs in that than camels at the bully race.
I'm calling to order and asking Councillor Plum to talk about anything but dash ends.
Mr Mayor, I just want to say how pleasing it is to see these alpha gates actually are going to exist, because it's been in this report for a long time, and it's very, pleasing to say to Karen, thank you for what you're doing with this, because I didn't think it would happen.
Between Karen and Dan, I think it's a very good thing. You'll be able to get your photo taken perched on top of them at the opening of the Gardening Expo.
What's just perched on top?
Climb up and sit on the gate. Any more questions for Karen? I will depart the room. Oh no, sorry, one more first. Sorry, 381. Can I have someone move Paul's report to be received? Councillor Gleeson, second Councillor Beckles. Those in favour? Carried. Paula?
We've got a number of events coming up in August. There's some really good fundraising opportunities there for some groups with the Box Rally and the Caravanners. The LRCIP projects have been extended out to June 24, so luckily, because there was some delays on some of those projects. We've got plenty of time to finish them off now. 23-24 projects will commence very soon. It's only just July now. And yeah, we'll take the rest as read.
How's the planning for the sculpture trail walkway going? I don't read your comments, but is it all going okay? Like plumbers are happy with, or the town supervisor, whoever's doing the plumbing?
Yes, I believe so, yeah. They picked up some more materials the other day when they were over in Barcaldine, so
Okay.
some more polypipe, so yeah, it's progressing well.
And on the comments about the amenities block, late July, does that mean, once the slab's poured, will they commence construction straight away, or will there be within a week or so?
No, we'll be commenced straight away.
Yeah.
Definitely be done by September for the campground.
Oh, it'll be done in time. Oh, good. That is good. Right. Any questions for Paula? The driver.
Mr Mayor? I did give a little bit of lip yesterday on the way through from Munnaburras. The cattle were all up the road, and I asked her to please get the cattle off the road and onto the stock route. But she did have some excuses why she was driving straight up the middle of the road.
Well, they were right straight up the middle of the road last Monday too.
Yeah, so I have seen her between Aramac and Barcaldine. I did tell her the same thing, to get off the road. And then yesterday, again, she had a problem.
Right. I'll leave. Councillor Blunt.
Okay, councillors, 3.8.2, request for assistance for the Mobile Camp Truck Association Incorporated. I have a mover, please. Linda? A seconder? Dan? All in favour? Those in favour?
Is this the motion? Excuse me, Madam Chair. Is this just, are you asking for us to discuss this, or
Yes.
just that we're looking at it?
Oh, brilliant, okay, well, that's what cool. Okay, so,
We're all in favour of looking at the report, but are we in favour of passing them?
is open up for discussion.
Yeah, so can I ask Paula to give us a bit overview of this?
Sure. Maryborough Camp Drafts is held annually every year. This year they requested $2,000 cash to go towards entertainment for Friday and Saturday evenings. And they would like some use of some plant and equipment as well. And have submitted their request as per council's policy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Paula, is it equivalent to what we have given them in the past?
It's slightly higher, 1,500 is usually what we give. But looking back through council donations towards all other groups in the region, I didn't put the $1,500 limit on there because they seem to give the other clubs whatever they're asking for or close to it, so I didn't want to limit ours to 1,500 any longer.
Thanks, Paula.
Questions?
Through you, Madam Chair. When you look at the application, they're asking for $2,000 for band and music on Friday and Saturday evening. I'm in favour of assisting any committee anywhere in kind with our machinery, and I a participant at Maryborough. I do compete at the Maryborough Camp Draft, go there every year. The Barkhorn Regional Council always has something to do with rubbish trucks, rubbish, cleaning facilities, all that. I am 100% against $2,000 to pay for a band so that they can earn more money, and most of their money goes back into prize money and doesn't go to other. And there is a reasonable amount of money in their cheque account. If you have a look at the bottom of it. So I'm not in favour of that. Thank you.
Can I just bring up, seeing that Councillor Gleeson has
Just raised it.
Possible.
said that he's going to attend the event, that maybe he has a conflict of interest.
Possible.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I should declare a conflict. Yeah, a conflict. Because I will, sorry, I will be declaring, apologise, I will be declaring conflict of interest as I will be attending that event.
Yeah.
Thank you, and I will leave the rest.
We need one more to go, and we'll have to,
Sorry.
we'll have to get a standing committee.
We haven't adopted that policy yet. We need a mayor minute to adopt the policy, so.
So, Councillor Harper, with you.
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm normally one that is quite picky on the community grants. I think the application's properly made and happy to support it for the cash and the in-kind support.
So, Councillor Hanson.
No comments, I'm happy with the way the report has come up.
Councillor
No, I'm happy to support Councillor Arthur.
So just looking at the, Councillor Rogers?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm happy to support the application. Like Councillor Arthur said, it's properly made. I'm not really concerned with the amount of cash that's in the bank because that could be anything, like they could have they need that to run the event anyway, so I'm happy to support this cash and in kind.
Okay, so I'll put it to vote. Those in favour? Councillor Rogers, are you in favour? She moved the motion.
Yes.
You move.
Oh, yeah.
5-0.
Got to bring it back in.
Can I have somebody please move agenda item 391? Chinese information report we received. Thank you, Councillor Rogers, seconded. Councillor Hanson, those in favour? 7-0. Jenny?
It had, just between the last meetings, there wasn't a lot going on, just a few things. First of all, the tourists through the centre and in that period had really ramped up, all coming and going to the Big Red Bash, the Blue Camel races, so they were very busy down there, and like I said in there, without the volunteer that we have there, we would be strapped for having staff down there, so it's a great thing that he turns up every day. On the projects, the swimming pool upgrade works is in progress. The leak detection was done. Reports, we've identified what needs to be done out of that report. We're just seeing if we need to call that, or our Council Plumber can do the works. Repairs to the sand filtration, that's going to happen at the end of August. Showground upgrades, the toilet block is well under construction, and they're working hard to ensure that it's finished for Westec Field Days. Administration office upgrades, that is just on the back burner until we decide which way they want to go. The goods shed, the materials have been ordered and the work has been given to a contractor, so that should be also completed prior to Westec. I have called the quotes for the pool cleaner. They close early next week. And the rec park, I'm just waiting on the approval of the master plan works to go ahead for that before we call that. And discussing with the assets officer about the fencing requirements for the showground. Apart from that, everything else is pretty much self-explanatory. And I did put in there, we did have a very nice paint and sip night, which was, exclusively it was the females invited. But we did have a nice enjoyable night, and we'll be going back to finish our
I thought the chair.
3 times in one day couldn't. And you might see our artwork adorned on the council office walls. We might win an art exhibition. So it was a nice enjoyable night.
Sorry, Julie, I'm not marking your course.
That's okay. I totally understand this, man.
So, I have questions for all district managers, Dan, Shane, now that we've got through the reporting, and it is in the next report as well, but a councillor definitely, and I had a discussion about this last week, and I know the former Director of Works had carriage of this project. The bin replacement program went through the year unexpended. Did any of the officers, where are we at with bringing in the community, like we had 32 or 5,000, something like that in the budget to replace bins? Do we have a process where people can do that, or do we need to develop that? Because I know we haven't carried it forward.
Marketed because it wasn't taken up.
But was it marketed? I never saw it marketed anywhere.
3 years ago, I don't think it was marketed, and getting the bins is the issue.
Right.
Like, I just tried to get 20 bins, 10 for Aramac and 10 for Muttaburra just the other day, and it's like, he can't deliver them, he's got no way of getting them here because there's so many of them. He's trying to get them here next week, and that's only 20 bins.
And that's from away, that we don't have that internally anywhere, that number.
We're supposed to have them in stock at the depot.
I believe they're supposed to be in stock, or there are, because there were some provided by JJ Richards for the Tree of Knowledge Festival, which that stock must be here somewhere because there was quite a number of bins. But when it came to, we didn't market that 50% off price. It did go out in a Galilee Gazette and we had lots of people come and give us our list, but put their name on a list and they're still on a list. But we didn't know, we weren't given instructions about, we were supposed to get more direction about how that was going to happen.
Okay.
So,
what the mechanism would be.
Yeah, and that is what the instruction didn't come down to us to do. So yes, people are still asking, and can it be extended for this year? Can it be brought into this financial year for that?
Well,
50%?
we've got a budget review coming up not very far away because we're at the end of July. Can we just have a look at the process for that? And if we need to amend the budget, council can do so to bring the $32,000 subsidy back. Especially if we've got people who've inquired and are on lists administering, that will be pretty straightforward. At first pass, you just go to everyone that's on the list and go, we got your bid.
Yeah.
And then secondly, from that, we could then market that futuristically, but we need to develop that process first. And then look at things like logistics, availability, distribute them out of every town. We couldn't have it that Nullarbor people are expected to drive to Aramac or Jericho people are expected to drive to Alpha. We'd have to have it that they could get it right there.
But Tim Smith, that's what we were led to believe, that they would be delivered to the premise that asked for the bin. That was what we were advised.
And then
that's what we're
whole-
working on here in Park Halton, because we had lots of bins being asked for, but we're charging full price. So we're hoping they're being delivered.
Right, all right. Thank you. That closes the loop on that one for now. Bit of a follow-up on that in a month or two. To the councillor who asked me about that, that's the answer. Right. Next question for Jenny, Councillor Gleeson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, in this question, I don't want to throw Councillor Peoples under the bus. I don't, but
It's just doing it straight away. He's under the bus. Before you
I need to ask the question,
yes,
please, regarding the racetrack. There was a contractor in there with grader and stabiliser and water trucks in the training track.
Mr Mayor, I might.
yeah, I might actually, no, I'm not going to close the meeting, but I am going to suggest that you need to
If
leave.
it's going to go any further on.
Can I just finish asking a question first?
No,
I'll declare
you're right for now, but you're not.
declarable, no, yeah, prescribed.
Prescribed.
Conflict of interest due to my employment.
Now you can go.
I've had discussions with people of trainers have rang me and asked me about it because I'm on the council and they asking why and who authorised that job and how much did it cost.
Through you, Mr Mayor, there was no cost to council.
Can I answer this?
Yeah, you probably can.
That's why I asked
His
the
context.
council people to stay in the room.
As chair of the, I answer this as chair of the Central West Racing Association. There is a infrastructure fund with Racing Queensland that all clubs in Queensland are entitled to chase grants for infrastructure. That track upgrade was done through that Racing Queensland fund and was handled by the club itself to improve the surface of the track, which was up and down and dangerous to horses. So that was all done through a club application to Racing Queensland.
And Councillor Peoples, it actually has to be that the money's only available to the licensed clubs. Is that right? The council wouldn't be eligible, even though we own the track. We don't run a racing event, so it wouldn't be eligible to apply. It would have to come through the club.
It's only eligible to clubs.
No, thank you, Councillor Peoples. But yeah, I had to ask the question because I've been asked, and it was on the training track, not the turf track.
Correct.
And as Jenny has put here, the training track was closed because of safety reasons and but I just want to ask that question. Thank you.
Jenny, did you want to add to that? I just heard your voice.
Through you, Mr Mayor, we did have that meeting with the club previously regarding maintenance on 2 tracks, and the discussion was around, and that's why they would gone for that funding, about them looking after the training track. Because, you know, council have implemented their developing the proper course, so that's a lot of maintenance. And the mayor was at that particular meeting where we had that discussion, and they were prepared to go and get that work done.
There's, to further add some light to it, Council Deason, there's $3 million a year made available from Racing Queensland for infrastructure for clubs to apply, and the majority of the funding goes to country clubs, non-town clubs. So, and the bigger clubs and the structures and they need for, say, Gold Coast and those sorts of things are funded from a different bucket.
Thank you.
Councillor, can I just ask, without throwing you all under the bus?
Again?
No, not you. This one. Yeah, he's throwing you under it, I'll throw him under it. No, was there a problem about it?
A problem?
Yeah.
A couple of town local persons had nowhere to train their horses. And they rang me up and asked me, not that I own the grounds at all, but they rang me up and asked me, would it be okay, did I think it'd be okay if they trained their horses in the Kingcraft arena? Because their horses had been locked in the stables. The reason was their horses had been in the stables getting full feed. They weren't game to, they didn't want to take them out in the open, and there was nowhere they could really think that they could take them, and that was the conversation. And they trained their horses in the Kingcraft arena for 3 or 4 days while the other was locked. And the couple of different persons that are trainers weren't consulted. And I just said, well, that's totally out of my control. You've got to talk to Racing Queensland, or talk to somebody that's got nothing to do with me.
Jenny, how are we going with the collection from the users of that facility, the training, their fees to operate there? Are they all compliant to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
That's good.
And they'll be invoiced again for this financial year.
So it's just a one-off fee, or you do it with the rates?
Just once a year. We just send them an invoice once a year for the annual fee. And to you, Mr. Mayor, the training track was closed just recently. We've had new signage made. There was always a sign further in about after following rain, and following that 60 odd mil of rain, it was deemed unsafe for them to use that training track because there was quite a lot of wet spots. So it was closed for a couple of days, and then one trainer walked it, and there was still a spot that the groundsman over there was still concerned about, but they were prepared to utilise it. It's more about what liability would fall to council if there was an injury. So there was always a sign there, but it was too far away to be read. So we've had a new sign made that can be opened or closed on it, and it's right at the gate. So yes, it was closed for safety reasons following that 60 mil of rain just a week ago. Because it just cuts it up a lot as well, but there was one spot that was terribly wet, they said. So, yeah.
Okay. Can I ask, I think, Councillor?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it is an issue for trainers if they do stand in their boxes too long and they can't get some exercise. So we need to be mindful of that. If we can get that track open as soon as possible,
Yes, to you, Mr. Mayor. It was only a couple of days, but the concern was about this particular spot that just wasn't drying out. Yeah.
Okay.
So we going to talk any more about a conflict of interest area? Councillor Larkin can rejoin, please. Any further questions for Jenny? I'll have somebody move 3.10.1. Project progress report received. Councillor Peoples, second up. Councillor Hanson, those in favour? 7-0. Dan?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. A number of the projects in this report of note have already been discussed today, but I suppose this is the final report referring to the 22-23 capital and operational projects program. So I will take the report as read, but happy to take any questions. I suppose just before we do that, a number of the capital projects we're going through a process at the moment with the officers to determine whether to be carried forward. There is some that have been underspent, or those projects may not be carried forward if the work was considered complete. So, or we're looking at an adjusted scope. So, we'll be discussing them with council with any of those sort of changes as time comes forward.
Questions, please. Sorry, Councillor Plum, I didn't quite hear that.
No comment, Mr Mayor.
Sharing's caring, councillors.
I just said to Councillor Arthur, did I have a conflict of interest here?
Oh, it could only be declarable, maybe. I'm not even sure which one it's for, but this is only receiving an information report. There's no decision, so don't stress. Stress less.
By the level of grey hair in your hair, Mr Mayor, you may wish to consider your own advice. Coming from a board man,
It's not helping me at all.
Righto, no more questions on the project progress report?
not until such time as we get some feedback or direction from the officers on carrying out the project.
See what's coming.
All right, can I have somebody move Lily's information report be received? Seconded, moved Councillor Plum, seconded Councillor Arthur. Those in favour? Might have her joining us, I'm not
We
sure.
can absolutely come along if you want to ask us some questions on. She's been out and about a lot, but we can go through her report. Obviously, ad hoc week, we played a supporting role. Ad hoc week, we were asked to provide support, which we did.
Councillor Peebles, did you have an issue?
I was going to ask a question, but we're going to go through the report.
No, go by questions. Okay.
Just the Harry Redford advertisement for the Outback magazine.
Yep.
Did anyone get to have a look at that? Didn't come our way, didn't come the committee's way.
Paul was involved, was it yourself and Lily and Amber?
Yeah, well, I believe there were some issues with the photography. There wasn't high enough resolution for them to use in the Outback magazine. So I don't know what the end result was. I've never seen the end result. But from what I gather, RM Williams was going to put together a ad. Well, we put the ad together, but they were going to add
Don't know if they sent it back to
pictures.
us.
But I haven't seen the end result.
She's just coming, she's coming.
Lily's never attended a council meeting before, so.
So, Mr Mayor, with regard to the Get Gardening, would it be power that would be the thing that takes us, that we can't go to, so
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll talk about that now. Today, Lily?
So you,
So, if we start in order, well, you just asked a question, we'll go back to Harry Redford. Lily, welcome.
Thank you.
Bex just asked about Councillor Plum has just asked about the location of the
Get Gardening
Get Gardening Expo. As in, why not Settlers Park as opposed to the showgrounds?
Because in talking with staff from Alpha and everything, they thought there was more scope at the showground to run different events and to combine the spring markets and bring more people together and have a bigger event.
No, that's okay. We're just talking about opening the gates. The gates.
And from catering and all sorts of other things. That's why. But please tell me if you feel that. If you can convince me otherwise, it's not a big problem. But I've sort of generally accepted that.
It's early in the process. If a change was to be made to the location, we'd have to do it soon. But I have been working with Lily and we've been working with Alpha Tourism and thinking that the showgrounds would be
a better place, the pavilion for displays,
And because
under the grandstand to run a high tea in the morning, and a competition for the best bloom. And yes, tourism want to help hold their markets there just to make it a bigger event. So I think there was more scope and more facilities there to accommodate.
Probably to flesh it out a bit better too, you know, some of the, if you look at the risks, I mean, weather doesn't seem to be a risk, but it might, we do want all the participants to try and travel there, so that if it's something over a fair period of time that, I don't know, be more pleasant with more facilities at the showground, I think.
I think, councillor, the feel-good thing would be Settlers Park. With practical logistical things, the showgrounds, there's only one toilet in Settlers Park. There's a very limited power, so you have diesel generators running. I think the showgrounds gives more options.
I also want to bring in sponsors and things like that too, and I think from the point of view, you know, if being like to make it a bit special and make it a bit more market, but if you're asking people to bring in displays and things like that too, I think again the facilities there lend itself.
So, right, that's that one. Any further questions on the Gardening Expo? Well, right, councillor Peoples, the Outback magazine.
Well, the Outback magazine, the ad for Harry Redford, have you completed that?
It has been sent through to them, yes.
I think we could have a look at it, mate, next time, please, so that we can just have a look before it goes.
Yes.
Just sum this on the
Okay.
committee, please. Yeah.
There is a meeting next week.
This week.
Oh, sorry, tomorrow, with everybody, yeah, for the next day.
Yeah.
Okay. My apologies, when I had the meeting with Gary and Amber and Paula, and I was of the impression that they were the people who decided on the ad. So
Yeah.
I didn't know that there was a much wider group. I wasn't given any instructions on that.
So, who else has seen the ad, the completed ad, before we go away?
Just us.
Right.
And, yeah, we should probably stay back to the committee for the next one.
Okay.
Just issue the photos.
Okay. Further questions for anything in Lily's report? Did someone have a... No, there was a defeating, sorry. Councillor Rogers. Do you have any questions for Lily?
No, Mr Mayor.
Red carpet for anyone for councillors to attend. Any of the rules?
Do we need a decision on this one, on the podcast?
So I don't know, was that a request for a decision, or was that, I think Councillor Rogers, you asked for some more information about what the podcast might look like at the last meeting, is that right? Or it may be a budget meeting it might have been?
Yes, that's right. So I'm guessing that the radio advertising proposal is that information.
Can you say that last bit again? There was a bit of an echo, sorry, councillor.
Yeah, the information is all in the radio advertising proposal, is that correct?
It is. He's also sent through an email, and you can log on to it. It's on YouTube, and you can listen to some examples that he's done for Charters Towers, which he was prepared to amend and make for Barcaldine. But it gives you what's possible to be said. There's also some talk about it can be what's happening, but there's also an opportunity to have little ads for job vacancies and things like that. So, you know, it's what you want to have in it. But I would recommend listening to the YouTube to get an idea of it. And also possibly, it doesn't have to be for the year. Like you could, I did say there, maybe look at it doing it for 3 months. So, because you get into a bit of a Or you know when it's coming up, when you can talk to him and be able to plan ahead of what's going to go to air a lot quicker.
Which could be definitely the case with things like job advertisements, because they would be much more short-term type promotion.
That's right, they wouldn't be there all the time. He is a very good operator, Wolfie, and he's can turn stuff around fairly quick. That's the advantage of it. I could see anyone here if they needed to be on that podcast in the following week, that it's a very good turnaround.
Councillor?
I just asked Tommy how old he was, because I was just looking at the demographics there. There's two demographics, and I don't fit in either. I was wondering if he
Throw him under a bus one time, councillor, and you're going to end up there a lot more often than he is. So just for my understanding, are we making a decision on this today, or is this for information now and we'll see further
information and we'll get a direction if you'd like us to proceed?
I'd like to get a bit of direction. I feel that with everything happening, I'd like to be more prepared. You don't suddenly say, okay, but yes, we want to do it, let's start it. So I guess I'd just like to see us talking about it. I'm happy to send everybody the link so you can listen to it. Maybe at the next meeting you get a feel of yourself and listen to him and understand his style. He's worked in Charter Towers, he actually understands the West. I think he's very much someone who could present what the council here would be wanting to do. So really, I guess I'm just want to share it with you and then move it forward if it's something that you want. I don't think it's expensive, but it's another way to connect with people.
So this option here is a radio broadcast, is what this discusses what he does in a radio broadcast in Charter Towers, but for us you'd be thinking it'd be just a podcast option, not rebroadcast, because we don't have a radio, or...
No, well, he's part of Longreach, he's part of that network.
Right. Do they broadcast here though?
4LG.
So that's right. So that's for the advertisements, but the interviews and so forth.
The podcasts, it's just really about the podcasts.
Right.
Yeah.
So that'd be just online.
That's right.
Yeah.
But the beauty of that being on YouTube, you can go to it any time. So if they're not in the car, they can actually tune into it later. And you can tell them, you can put on Facebook and say, hey, don't forget, here it goes. If you missed it, listen again. So it can be transportable. I guess my thing is really, like, do you like it or not? Do you see it as a good tool or not? And think about it, if it's not what you're keen on, happy to look at others.
Councillors?
I'd like it to be sent to me so I can hear it, see it.
You'd like the link?
Yes.
We can share the link too. Let's do that and then get your feedback around what we do out of session, and if we need to make a formal decision, we can do that at the next meeting.
Of course, it's minimal, we'll get a direction. Councillor.
Anyone else got any thoughts? No.
Not sure what to say, Mr. Mayor. I don't listen to FM at all, point blank. Nothing to do with it, but I know that most town people do.
This would be more online than radio.
Facebook? I don't do Facebook. Not very often anyway, very, very rarely.
This would be...
Council people and I share Facebook, is that correct?
Well, when you do Instagram, we can start. Sorry. Mr. Mayor, I thought it was a radio.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yep, go to you first, Councillor Rogers.
I'm just wondering what, with the Wiley Town Cards, what that means about one of the founders leaving, like. What does that mean? That they're no longer available, or?
When I was talking to her to get the numbers and she said she's leaving at the end of June, I wasn't able to get a reply to that. But I have since a lady called Ash, we've made contact. There's still someone there, that's just that the one person, she's moved on to something else, but it's still going to keep going. I was a bit alarmed at it when I wasn't able to get the information for this meeting. I have since got the information that I could tell you now, because it's happened in the period when I was away, but I'm just watching it, I'm just a bit concerned, was it going to go fold or something? But I feel reassured that we're still getting the information.
Thank you.
No, you're right.
Councillor, did you say you thought it was an FM presentation?
Yeah, well, I read those options there, and there's two, option 1, option 2 are radio inclusions. So,
Yeah, can you just walk us through it, because I'm confused too, must admit, I thought it was podcasts, but there's podcast add-ons. What are the radio, what are we gonna, I think we need to go through it again, sorry Lily, it's not as clear as perhaps it should be to us.
No, that's okay. It's not much good having radio inclusions if he can't transmit to here, where your people are, right? But it could be that at some stage you do want to put radio into that area, right? So neighbouring town, so it's there if you need it, right? So he's just putting it together as packages if you wanted to have radio ads, right? So we talked about, because we're so close, you might do it.
Broadcast currently though, if we were to invest in that today and we got 180 30-second commercials, where would that, what market would that hit?
In the Charles Towers area.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Option one
direct
is-
transmission to there and then access over the internet through 88 FM.
Here,
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you wanted to.
yeah. The
Or does it link to 4LG at all?
no,
No.
they're different reps in different areas.
Just a transit station.
They're just part of a big parent organisation.
So this would be rebroadcast through 88 FM here?
The podcast or the radio ads?
Both.
The radio ads, yes.
No, well, 88 FM is a tourist station for.
Oh, sorry, not
here
88,
in
for
online it would be. Like you can get, to use another one, Rebel FM, so you can stream it through
Yes.
and the 12 different stations or whatever. I would say they would have the same.
So if I go
Check that
for
first.
option 1 here, it will actually physically only be broadcast through the Charters Towers distribution, and then the ads would be going where else? So there's 180 30-second commercials, where would they as ads be heard?
That's Charles Towers,
Right.
right? The podcast can be heard in Charles Towers, like people down there can hear what you're doing. It's like, you know when you have a Merrill interview, and if people miss the interview on radio, they miss it, right? But when they make this podcast, which is a lot of conversation, a lot longer, everything's contained at once, put on the podcast and you can get it on YouTube and you can get it back when you want it. So you could have a gallery, for want of a better word, of a stable of podcasts that you're doing weekly or bi-weekly or just on your progress, with them interviewing you. So it's the opportunity of someone to interview on radio and have it in one place.
So you wouldn't necessarily need to do the advertising, you could just do the podcast, and within the podcast itself you could place some ads. So if you were doing a weekly wrap-up of the region and it was a 30-minute chat, you could have that broken into 2 or 3 10-minute segments with an advertisement for a truck driver in Aramac or a water operator in Alpha or whatever.
That's exactly right, yeah.
Okay, I understand now. Do you understand now, Councillor Clevels?
I think he just gave us a lot in case you were then reaching into further afield and wanting to advertise other things.
Very good. Would you like to investigate further the idea of establishing this podcast? I think probably the next step for me would be to look at what our chats would like, who's going to be, what the podcasts are going to be about, what the topics would be, and then that'd be enough for me to make a decision. Then I think like we've got to put together what this stable of interviews would look like, and whether we're interviewing identities and discussing regional events and that sort of stuff. That to me would be the next step of quickly, because it doesn't look expensive.
No, it doesn't. I know. But this was here when I first arrived, so he obviously established a good thing in Charles Towers and was reaching further afield. I think getting topics, identifying topics that you want covered would be a good step.
It'll be our agenda.
So, more information about the agenda for the topics, and then we'll make a final decision. So your draft forecast for the 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 or however many you envisage, and then we'll do that at the next meeting. All right, further questions on other issues?
Mr. Mayor, the boosting accessible tourism experiences, that article there that the 60s and better at feedback, there's some very good feedback there, positive, negative feedback that obviously the council would be noting and looking at.
We've already started in some places where we've identified signs pointing in the wrong directions through the 60 plus other groups. So when a local community member identifies something that we correct, it's good for us for our maintenance crews, and we've changed that as soon as we become aware of it.
I think it's very good, Lily. You hit the ground going.
Thank you.
The sculpture trail toilets, if I can pick on that, because that is a project. Where are we at there?
It's not progressing quickly,
No.
but yeah, we're just gathering information.
Yeah.
I think I'll just put it out on the vendor panel, Mr. Mayor, as a design, construct and install. We don't have the manpower to install it. It just needs to go out as one big project.
It's funded through LRCI.
Yeah.
So that's good that we can address that. Because yes, that's been a consistent piece of feedback for a while. And we've had it in the budget for a while, it's just been a bit tricky. Can you just refresh my ageing, stressed memory that Councillor Arthur keeps pointing out?
I never said there was a problem with your memory, Mr. Mayor.
Where are we putting it again?
In it, Greyrook.
Great. All right, further questions for Lily? Thank you. Thank you very much. Next.
Just stay for Rada.
Yeah, right. Okay. Thank you, can stay for the next one as well, because it's your report too. Can I have, discussion regarding the, Councillor Rogers, did you want to, we'll go on mute, so you, no, we can't do that. You'll have to have a break. But you are on mute, sorry, Councillor.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. But you're coming back, are you?
Well, Mr. Mayor, is it easier to deal with the other items and then leave this one for last and then?
Well, the only thing is, I think, Councillor, are you able to stay on, Councillor Rogers, for the Councillor workshop after the meeting?
Yeah, I was, so.
Yeah. No, if you've got away on your end too.
Mute us.
I can, maybe, can you mute me? Like, can you mute yourself from me?
If we do that, then the video recording of the meeting, of the chamber, will be muted as well.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hang on. This is dangerous.
Okay, we'll just turn off and then rejoin.
Where's the mouse for that?
There isn't a mouse for that, is it?
Yeah, there is.
There is, yeah, it's separate. It's not a touch screen, is it? No.
You there?
Oh, can somebody get Aaron?
Get a quick copy, just send it. When they get a quick copy.
Yeah, it won't take us long.
Just one
That's.
track.
Yeah, that's only controlling the back. Is Aaron on site today?
Just ringing him.
Councillor will just get out and then reconnect.
Yes, she won't know when.
Make your way over here.
Always sits here for 2 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, the toilet was adjourned to lunch after this one, which will allow the women to say
We need to stall Councillor Rogers while we're going to
Can you mute the Zoom, mate? Not the room, please. Yes, Councillor Rogers needs to not be here.
Correct. Hang on, I'll call you back.
Yes.
You're right. I'll come back with a mouse, but I'll do this right now. Is that muted?
It started.
We'll come back.
Started
Yeah,
with
so-
the patient.
Yeah, been discussing it.
Oh, right, yeah. Had some chat to them late last week.
They're not happy about it locally. I can't wait personally.
I haven't had any feedback.
Well, only because they didn't know. You can't hear us, Councillor Rogers, can you? Hello, Melinda. Right. Councillor Rogers is treated for the purposes of the record as no longer in the room. I now ask for discussion on the Radis application. As the ranking member of the committee, have you got anything to add, Councillor Arthur?
No, Mr. Mayor. Just that, even during the process, I was supportive of the.
Lily, is there anything from you with respect to this project?
No, I've only heard Melinda say that she had to step back. There seems to be, everyone's in agreement. Through you, Mr. Mayor, beg your pardon. Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, I don't have anything.
No, that's fine. Councillor Plum, you're moving. Councillor.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'll second it, but can we add in there who it's to and the amount? Don't we normally have that in there?
Yeah, it's to the Buckle Cultural Association. That's who it's to, and the amount is for
2,000.
2909.
2909. Further discussion? Put it to the vote. Those in favour? 6-0. Now, can someone spare Aaron's phone?
Lynn's going to go there.
Hang on, the report's got two different names there. Which one was it? Was it the Arts Council or the Cultural Association?
Well, it says the Arts Council. Barcaldine Arts Council with a total project cost of 4,409.
So which one?
Cultural Association. Isn't
So they want in the same banner?
Okay.
Separate.
Two separate groups.
Had two applications.
So we've only got one here.
Oh no, we received two.
Auckland Cultural Association was the artists and residents.
That's right.
And the
So the Arts Council's running it, but it's a cultural association.
No,
No.
two different applications, apparently, two different parts.
So we normally sponsor the art exhibition. But it's what, 1,500 or something?
It's budgeted for.
Yeah, I've got it in here too.
Well, the two things are very confusing.
Shane?
It's the Arts Council's off the top, the recommendation, it's the Arts Council.
It shouldn't be Buckle Cultural Association, it should be Buckle and Arts Council. You're happy with that, Councillor Plum? Councillor Plum, are you happy to change the wording of your motion to Buckle and Arts Council instead of Buckle and Cultural Association?
Yes.
Councillor Peoples?
If that's who it is, Mr Mayor, yeah.
It's at the top, of the left that.
And there is only one application to approve, is that right?
That's right.
That's right, not, right, good.
There was, yeah, several questions on that, was it?
No, that's fine.
Right, questions on notice? Can I have somebody?
Ready for Councillor Rogers to come back?
Yes. You're back with us, Councillor Rogers. We didn't hear you then, we could see. The report, can I have somebody please move that we receive the questions on notice response from the last meeting? Moved Councillor Peoples, seconded Councillor Henson, those in favour. Motion carried, 7-0. Right, new questions on notice, starting with Councillor Rogers.
I don't have any questions Mr Mayor.
Councillor Peoples.
Shane, we've got a Harry Redford meeting this week. Are you coming to it?
Yep.
Do you think we could, before or after, just go for a flip around the town streets? If you're all right?
I'll be there, we might as well.
Yep. That's it from me. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Gleeson.
Thank you.
Councillor Hanson. Councillor Arthur.
No, Mr Mayor, might have been asked and answered today.
Sorry.
Might have been asked and answered today.
Very good. Councillor Gleeson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Sorry I've gone back and forth, but can the council clean up the footpath area under the Shakespeare,
teaching,
the old hotel down the ground down there, and
took the words off my list.
Because it's disgusting. It just needs the council to clean it up and straighten up the bunding and that, please.
Dead.
Can the council do it? You know, should we do it? Can we do it?
We could do it and change that.
We'll work on it. Is the footpath their responsibility, is that anyone?
Yeah, it's,
It is, yeah. Those dead animals in there, everything. Birds, mainly.
Yeah.
You're right, Councillor Plum?
Councillor Gleeson has just refreshed my memory of the one question.
I haven't forgotten it.
That's how we access it.
I've been gone for a couple of weeks and 6 businesses all mentioned it to me. I don't know why they didn't mention it to the office here, because I asked any of them had they raised it with the front office, and they said no. That's why we're talking here. So.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, and unfortunately that's what happens a lot of the time.
They come to council instead of they come to council laws instead of council.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've raised it today, so
Regardless
if we can get it cleaned up, that'd be great. Councillor Plum.
I was the same, Mr Mayor, took the words out of my mouth, but that's all I have, thank you.
Whereas, no more, any more for any more? Being closed at 11:49. 8. Master plan for the record. Oh, sorry, we better actually close the meeting.